Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Last night we talked about Darren Indyke and the role that he allegedly played within Jeffrey Epstein's criminal enterprise. We know that Darren Indyke was Epstein's go-to in-house lawyer, and we know that his signature was on tons and tons and tons of money transfers that had to do with Jeffrey Epstein and his various so-called charitable organizations, which I like to call money washing pits. And we also talked a little bit about Larry Visoski, who was Jeffrey Epstein's pilot. Now, Visoski was very close to Epstein. He was his main pilot, and he was so close, in fact, that he had his own little parcel of land within the Zorro Ranch community. Now, I also talked about how his daughter got married at Zorro Ranch. Well, we have an article today from the Daily Mail back from August 13th, 2019, that discusses just this very thing. And the headline? Exclusive. Jeffrey Epstein's personal pilot was so close to the deceased pedophile that his daughter got married at the financier, pedophile's, famous New Mexico Zorro Ranch 2 years ago. And again, this is important because we have to establish the chain. We have to connect the two. We have to make sure that it's ironclad, right? Now, Visoski needs to be brought in and questioned again. I know that he talked a little bit to the authorities previously, but I think that he should be looked at even more closely. He's a lot closer to Jeffrey Epstein than just some regular employee would be. And the fact that he has a piece of a parcel of land at Zorro Ranch and his daughter was married there, and you add to all of that that he was Epstein's main pilot, so he knew who was on those planes. He knows very well who was on those planes, and he definitely needs to be talked to. He needs to be sat down, and he needs to be subpoenaed, and he needs to be put under oath by the federal government, and he needs to answer some hard questions. This article was written by Ryan Perry, West Coast editor for thedailymail.com, and Josh Boswell. Billionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein's personal pilot was so close to his boss that his daughter was married on the now-deceased child sex offender's sprawling New Mexico ranch, DailyMail.com can reveal. Larry Visoski, 59, who had worked as Epstein's chief pilot since 1990, running his fleet of private jets and helicopters, walked his daughter down the aisle on the pristinely manicured lawn of the mansion in 2017. Working with Jeffrey Epstein since 1990, okay? This man was the pilot flying all of these girls back and forth from Teterboro Airport to Palm Beach to New Mexico to Paris to London to New York, you name it. This was the guy that was in charge of making sure that the fleet of planes operated correctly and that everything was kosher while they were in the air. This was a man that Jeffrey Epstein trusted very, very much. And if Jeffrey Epstein trusted you, automatically, that makes me question the kind of person that you are. Visoski's daughter, 25-year-old Taylor, married Brendan Cusack on June 3rd that year, celebrating their wedding late into the night on Epstein's luxurious 33,000 square foot pad situated in the high desert hills outside Santa Fe. When I was down there and I was talking to some of the sources that I started building relationships with, and they had talked about this. They talked about the pilot, Visoski, living there and how his daughter had a wedding there, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they didn't have anything to really add contextually, but it's funny how that works, right? It's funny how rumors fly in these places. And it's funny how that the normal people that are living there, just regular workmen or law enforcement officials, whatever it may be, they all know what's going on in places like this. You know, the scuttlebutt and the rumor mill is always churning out these rumors. And people always have a bit of an idea of what's going on, but somehow the authorities always seem to miss it. For people that are supposedly very smart, for people that are supposedly these fantastic investigators, they sure do miss a lot when it's convenient, don't they? Stunning photos of the wedding day obtained exclusively by DailyMail.com show the couple hugging and kissing in front of the lavender-lined flower beds and fountains of the colonial-style light pink building with views over the plains that stretch east of the Sandia Mountains. Must be nice, huh? It must be nice for these people to live this plush, this posh lifestyle, this high-flying lifestyle where they're getting married at this ranch that should have been seized by the government. This ranch shouldn't even been in Jeffrey Epstein's possession anymore. All of his property should have been seized after that first arrest. If they would have went about it correctly and they would have hit him with the proper charges, with RICO charges, all of these properties would have been seized and this would have been over a very long time ago. But instead, they kicked it down to the state level, no RICO charges, a slap on the wrist, keeps all of his property, keeps all of his ill-gotten money. No worries. No worries. We're going to hook you up, Jeff. Doesn't matter that you were involved in a sex trafficking ring or you were abusing children. That's no big deal. You're part of the polite New York society. So, you'll get a pass here, Jeff. Don't worry. Your people called me and they told me that we have to make sure this is a state situation, not a federal situation. We're going to hook you up, pal. 8 years later, 9 years later, they're still living it up. They're still partying on this nasty-ass ranch, this place of horror, having weddings there. All right? Imagine what kind of sick person has their daughter's wedding on this property. Somebody who doesn't think that Jeffrey Epstein was sick, obviously. And that's certainly where I'm fitting Larry Visoski. There's no doubt in my mind that this man knew what was up. I don't have evidence to prove that, but in my mind, from what I've read and from where the evidence has led us, there is zero doubt in my mind that Visoski is a material witness at the very least, and he needs to be subpoenaed. Visoski, wearing a smart three-piece suit with a handkerchief in his pocket, is seen proudly posing with his daughter outside. Imagine this is a father. This is a father who has a daughter, and yet he worked for a man like Jeffrey Epstein. Don't you have some sort of come to Jesus moment where you're sitting there, maybe, looking in the mirror, brushing your teeth, saying to yourself, what if my daughter got caught up with a guy like this? How can I work for a man like this? You mean to tell me a qualified pilot like Mr. Visoski couldn't have found other employment? He couldn't have found somebody else to work for? He couldn't have found another rich person to fly around who wasn't a child molester? It didn't matter to Visoski. It did not matter to Visoski because, again, like a lot of these other people, he's seen Epstein as a vehicle to elevate him to where he wanted to be monetarily. And that was more important to him than even having a shred of morality to take a look in the mirror and say, look, I'm part of this problem. I need to leave this situation. I need to remove myself from this situation. But no, he kept on flying Jeffrey Epstein around even after he was arrested the first time, had his daughter get married at this house of horrors, and nobody's talking about this guy? Nobody wants to bring him up? Well, that's over. Mr. Visoski, you're on the clock, sir. His daughter looks stunning wearing a flowing white wedding dress, diamond tiara and necklace, and carrying a bouquet of flowers. The huge ranch boasts stables, gardens, an airplane hangar, and private runway for Epstein's $80 million fleet of private jets. When I was at the ranch, I wasn't able to see any of that from the gate, obviously. But when you look at the aerial pictures and you look at the satellite photos of the ranch, you see exactly what they're talking about. It's a sprawling property, and my words do not do it justice. That's how big it was. Next to the stable on the eastern edge of the property are other smaller buildings, which are believed to include the veteran pilot's home, a secondary property in addition to his Palm Beach residence. It was here that wedding guests partied the night away on a makeshift dance floor with a DJ playing the bride and groom's favorite tracks. It makes me ill reading this, considering what happened to Annie Farmer on this property, considering what happened to Virginia on this property, considering what happened to all of the other unnamed girls on this property. Yet these people are partying away, dancing their lives away like it's no big deal. I have to be honest with you, if I even got invited to a wedding at a property like this, where it's on a property owned by someone like Jeffrey Epstein, zero chance I would be going, okay? Unless I was going to try and, get a scoop. Maybe I'd show up and try and get some pictures and get a scoop, maybe. But as far as going to dance the night away and party, I would feel ill doing that. Knowing what occurred at this place. Knowing that all of these young girls, some of them we don't even know, folks. Some of them we have no idea what has even happened to them, were abused on this property. And to think about what happened to Annie Farmer here, it makes my blood boil, folks. It really, really makes my blood boil, because there's this property should be sold and liquidated and raided and every other thing you can imagine, but yet it's still standing strong. Still standing strong in Jeffrey Epstein's estate's name, and people like Indike and Khan are still benefiting from it. Meanwhile, the survivors are still battling tooth and nail for what they deserve. It's unacceptable, folks. It is truly unacceptable to me, and I don't understand how there can be any sort of party at a place like this as late as 2017. We're not talking about before his first arrest, mind you. This is after he was arrested for the first time. These people still came to this party. This man, Larry Visoski, still thought it would be a good idea to have this wedding at this place. Plenty of other places to have your wedding, pal. Plenty of other places. Among photos obtained by the DailyMail.com, there's a shot of the wooden cowboy-style ranch entrance, which has a metal Z for Zorro sitting on top. Many believe Visoski could hold the key to Epstein's sordid lifestyle, but has always told investigators that he never saw young girls on the billionaire's plane, despite allegations the jet was used for orgies between rich and powerful men and underage girls procured by Epstein's staff. Your silence is criminal, sir. You need to come forward, and you need to speak on what you've heard and what you've seen and what you've witnessed, and you need to do it now, because there's zero chance that anyone's going to convince me that Visoski had no idea what was going on. He was flying these people all over the world on this plane where it was known for orgies and deviant behavior, and this man's going to act like he had no idea what was occurring? Please. Visoski has flown the hedge fund mogul, pedophile, around the world for decades. Notably, Visoski flew Epstein's larger 727 jet, the infamous Lolita Express, which carried prominent passengers including President Bill Clinton, British royal Prince Andrew, as well as Hollywood stars Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker, and supermodel Naomi Campbell. And we know that Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton, and Epstein all went on a journey together. And now that doesn't mean that Chris Tucker was involved in abusing anybody, or, I would say Kevin Spacey, but we all know his history, and we all know Bill Clinton's history, and, well, we all know Jeffrey Epstein's history, so, fellow travelers perhaps? Maybe. The refurbished 1969 aircraft is decked out with velvet armchairs, a spacious living room, office and bedroom, and is pictured many times on Visoski's Instagram, where he posted photographs of Epstein's private fleet and island as revealed by DailyMail.com last month. Though the setting of the nuptials was beautiful and innocuous, adorned with fairy lights and flowers for the young couple's wedding, Epstein allegedly told scientists he planned to turn Zorro Ranch into a baby-making factory, according to a report by the New York Times. And that's not the worst of it, folks, all right? The fact that he wanted to turn it into a baby-making factory is absolutely reprehensible and gross. But for me, the worst part of it and the most disturbing part of it is all of the girls who were abused on this property. All of the girls who were taken advantage of on this property. All of the girls who had their innocence stolen while on this property. And yet these people are partying like it's a place that isn't full of tears and bad dreams and demons. It's gross. This is the way the other half lives, folks. This is the way the 1% lives. They don't care. They don't care about you or me or Annie Farmer or Virginia or Maria Farmer or anybody else. You know what they care about? Themselves and consolidating their power and increasing their wealth. That is all they care about. The pedophile was allegedly inspired by the repository of germinal choice, a bank of sperm from white high-achieving men, which is reported to include samples from 5 Nobel Prize winners and operated for 20 years until 1999. Again, folks, I have it on good authority that all of these people were seriously racist as well. Seriously racist. The things that they said about people who were different from them, the things that they said about minorities, would make your head spin. And to think a guy like Jeffrey Epstein thinks that he could sit around and be the moral judge of anybody else, and to think that he's better than anybody else considering the person that he is. It shows you, it gives you a real good look at the narcissism that all of these people possess. The New Mexico Attorney General had opened an investigation into Epstein and said they would forward the findings to his New York counterpart, who had brought new charges against the sex-offending financier. That's BS work, too, by New Mexico. They should open their own case. They should not rely on New York. They have the Zorro Ranch is in their own backyard, and this is why a lot of the officers were disenchanted. This is why a lot of the officers and agents had low morale, because you don't kick the ball over here in a situation like this. You don't punt this away. You dive in as the Attorney General and you defend your state. That's your job. You defend the state and the people who were abused in your state. You don't punt the ball. The Attorney General's office announced its investigators have interviewed possible survivors of Epstein who visited Zorro Ranch, and is renewing a push for new laws to require sex traffickers to register as sex offenders in the state. Oh, well, that's kind of nice, huh? New laws that sex traffickers have to register as sex offenders? That's not a law already? New Mexico's a wacky place, boys and girls, I'll tell you that much. Epstein bought the ranch from the family of the late New Mexico governor, Bruce King, shortly after serving his 13-month jail sentence for soliciting a minor for prostitution in Florida. The lenient plea deal that was cut with a Florida district attorney in 2008 drew intense scrutiny after the New York DA indicted Epstein on charges of using child prostitutes. Child prostitutes, again. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Children cannot be prostitutes, okay? All right? Pretty simple. Stop using that terminology. Words have power, and stop using that terminology. Epstein paid girls as young as 14 hundreds of dollars in cash for massages, only to molest them at his homes in Palm Beach, Florida, and New York from 2000 through 2005, according to an indictment filed in New York. The local DA who cut the sweetheart 2008 deal, Alex Acosta, resigned as President Trump's labor secretary when the news broke that Epstein was being reinvestigated. And while I think that Acosta should have resigned, there's a whole lot of other people that should have resigned as well. And the whole entire thing with Acosta, it's hypocritical at best. Where's all the scrutiny now with the media? When they thought that they were going to be able to get Trump with this, they were all over it. But now, mum's the word. I would like to see them exert the same pressure on every single person that was involved with this. Trump, Clinton, doesn't matter. The legacy media should be exerting a full court press on all of them. But no, they don't. Absolute joke. The perverted financier, pedophile, was not required to register as a sex offender in New Mexico, though he reportedly contacted the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office after buying the ranch. Do you think it was a coincidence? Come on. Jeffrey Epstein knew the deal in New Mexico. He knew that he was going to be protected by the powerful Kings and Bill Richardson, and he wanted to be close to his buddies at the Santa Fe Institute and down at Los Alamos. Everything Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell ever did was calculated. Everything and every move they ever made was thinking about the big picture. And the prosecutors have been a step behind these people since the very beginning. Even in Jeffrey Epstein's death, he has found a way to elude these people. My opinion on all of that? The prosecution is dragging their feet. The evidence is there. There can only be one reason why they're dragging their feet and why they're not going after this faster and harder than they are. And to me, that's because they're scared of what Ghislaine Maxwell knows and who she will implicate when the walls come tumbling down. But guess what? We don't care. The public does not care who is implicated in this. We want them all to face justice. Fast, speedy trials and harsh penalties for every single person involved. Scorched earth, complete and utter evisceration. That is where we are at right now, folks. That's the point we are at. There's no going back. There's no time for half-stepping. There's no time for anything else but a full court press and the pursuit of justice. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. Also, don't forget to check out my newest podcast, COVID-19, the pandemic that changed everything. You can find a link for that in the description box with all of the other goodies. All right, everybody, I will be back later on tonight with another episode and another daily drop. All right, everybody, I hope you all enjoy your day, and I will talk to you later on tonight.